CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated, and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real losers. You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group of people. And the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times. But the people that run it ought to be ashamed. MSDNC, a guy named Brian Roberts, he heads it. He's a disgrace. He's a weak, pathetic disgrace.
Thank you so much for joining me here at Courageous Media. Donald Trump was on fire today. He woke up on the wrong side of the bed, absolutely throwing down against CNN, who he called scumbags, MSDNC, Brian Roberts, the entire propaganda media establishment, and even more importantly, against Iran, but bigger than that, against Israel and Bibi Netanyahu, although he doesn't name him by name. But this is absolutely amazing. You got to see this. This is some tremendous stuff. Donald Trump was not to be trifled with today as he was heading out to NATO for the NATO summit. We're going to dive into all this. Obviously, this comes on the heels. We reported it as it was breaking last night of the ceasefire that Trump had brokered between Israel and Iran and really the United States, because as soon as the United States struck Iran's nuclear capabilities and demolished them, Trump immediately entered into negotiations to get this whole thing to come to an end. We had accomplished our objective. We wanted Iran to never have a nuclear weapon. Trump was able to basically effectuate that with the U.S. military. And from there, he said, look, this is the end of this thing. We don't need to go any farther. We're not interested in regime change. We're not doing that. We're not doing any nation building, none of this. So he was able to broker a ceasefire last night that took effect last night. But Trump woke up today to the fact that that ceasefire was already being broken. Absolutely ridiculous. Hey, Delight45, thanks so much for rolling up. Really appreciate you being here. So we are going to dive into all aspects of the ceasefire as it relates. So we got the tweet about the ceasefire. We got JD Vance talking about it, and then we got the what happened this morning, which is absolute fire. So here we go. Let's dive right in. So here's Trump's tweet on the ceasefire itself that he released last night. We posted this last night, but I want to dive into it. I want to share it here so that everybody we can level set. So here's Trump. This was last night at about 6 p.m. Eastern time. Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there'll be a complete and total ceasefire 6 hours from now. He lays out how it was a staggered beginning to the ceasefire. We'll get down to this. During the ceasefire, you shall remain peaceful and respectful on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will. I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years, destroyed the Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless Israel. God bless Iran. God bless the Middle East. God bless the United States of America. God bless the world, which is exactly what we need. We need God. God has to be in the middle of this, or we are all effed. Okay, let's just get honest. I'll use that word because it is apropos today. Donald Trump. We're going to get to that in a minute. But anyway, so right after that dropped, JD Vance, the best vice president ever in the history of the United States, showed up on Fox and they asked him about it. So let's dive right into that. JD Vance on Fox talking about the ceasefire. Here we go.
We knew this was coming. The draft, it was interesting. I just read the draft about 2 minutes before we went on the air. It was a little bit different from what the president had showed me a couple of hours ago. But again, I knew that he was working the phones as I was on the way over here. So I knew exactly what we were going to do. And look, I love that about this presidency and this administration is he's always working. He doesn't say, the vice president's going to do an interview, so I'm going to stop doing anything. He says, we're going to do the American people's business. The vice president knows what I'm trying to accomplish. And if I get it done, great, because we're going to talk about it and celebrate it, because it is a thing to celebrate. I can't emphasize this enough, Brett. We have destroyed the Iranian nuclear program. 0 Americans have died. That's an amazing, amazing thing. Americans, whether Democrats or Republicans, we should be celebrating that.
Mr. Vice President,
we knew this was coming. The draft, it was interesting.
So,
I just read the draft about 2 minutes before we went on.
So Donald Trump has been able to broker this ceasefire. And so he announces it last night. JD Vance goes on Fox. They talk about it. Everything is going phenomenal. He announces it at basically 12 p.m. Eastern time. Hey, the ceasefire is now in effect. Don't anybody break it. Don't be stupid. And I'm off to bed. So Trump goes to bed, but wakes up this morning to absolute nonsense. All right. It's almost like you've got two brothers, two kids, two 12-year-olds who have no emotional control whatsoever. That's what Iran and Israel are acting like. And daddy shows up and daddy, sets the tone. And so dad leaves, dad goes on a business trip, dad goes to sleep, and the two brothers cannot maintain it for more than a few hours. And so what you've got, let me give you a little bit of a timeline here. So Trump announces the ceasefire initially, with about, and he's got 6 hours to go. Israel basically says, oh, okay, the ceasefire is going to take effect. Let's launch everything we got. So Israel, in a completely dingbat move, which shows their complete lack of credibility, their lack of sincerity, their lack of intelligence, they essentially disrespect Trump first time by launching everything they got. Okay, so they go for a full-scale strike in the waning hours before the ceasefire takes effect. Iran responds, and then we have the ceasefire actually take effect, after which there is a rogue missile from Iran that heads towards Israel. I think there might have been even 2 of them. Both of them are shot down. They do not impact. They do not explode. There is no damage. There is no injury. There is no nothing. But Israel issues, the IDF issues a tweet, Bibi Netanyahu issues a tweet saying, Iran violated the ceasefire and we are going to respond with full force. To which Trump says, oh, hell no. So here's Trump as he wakes up 6 a.m. to all this mayhem going on. And Trump says, no. Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn. Actually, let me do this one first. So this was the first tweet. So Trump wakes up to this nonsense. Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do, it is a major violation. Bring your pilots home now. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. And then from there, we get this tweet. So Trump follows it up with this one after having talked to Netanyahu, evidently. So he got on the phone with Netanyahu. You're going to see where he tells the press that that's exactly what he's going to do. Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. Nobody will be hurt. Ceasefire is in effect. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, as it turns out, Israel did drop a bomb or two. They took out a radar station near Tehran. There were no injuries that I know of. Essentially, Iran at that point said, okay, we're going to let it go. What Israel should have done to the rogue missile from Iran the first time, but I don't think Israel is that emotionally intelligent. And more I see, like, Israel just cannot do anything but be the instigator half the time. So after all this, in that same press conference, that little mini presser, as Trump is walking to Marine Run to head to NATO, after he unloads on the media, Trump gets asked about the entire ceasefire shenanigans, and you've got to see what Trump said. This is absolute gold from Trump. Tracy, Candace Owens, yeah, we're going to get into Candace Owens on all this because I'm not liking how that's going out. Bob, Trump is saving America. Absolutely. Let's check out Trump as he was asked about the ceasefire that he just brokered. Here we go.
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
I love it. I absolutely love Trump. Trump is just, I mean, when Trump does that, it is so classic because he is literally, I mean, he is angry. This is not Trump speaking precisely. This is Trump off the cuff. This is Trump having woken up to two children fighting each other after he basically told them to stop. This is daddy's home and he's not taking this crap anymore. And this is also Trump. Now, this is to Candace Owens' credit. This is Trump also waking up to how destructive Israel can be and how manipulative they can be and how they seem to always have to get in the last word and how in many ways they have disrespected the United States of America and Donald Trump, who's the one person they shouldn't disrespect. I understand, I don't agree with, but I understand why they disrespected Biden because he was a weak, pathetic simp. But don't disrespect Donald Trump because he's not going to take it. And Donald Trump will remember the next time you need help, Israel, Bibi, Trump may not be there for you. Trump may just say, you know what? No, we'll wait this one out. Thanks to your little ceasefire shenanigans. But Trump absolutely lost it. They don't know what the F they're doing. They've been fighting for so long. They're so full of hate for each other. This is absolutely classic. Now, Candace, on her show today, she kind of, I don't know, she tried to thread the needle. She didn't just come out. I wanted to hear her say, you know what, I want to apologize to Donald Trump, which is what she should have done. After all the shade she threw his way, that he's betrayed MAGA, Trump's a liar, Trump betrayed us, I regret my vote, her and Dave Smith. No. Now you can come back and say, you know what, I was wrong on the outcome. Now, maybe you want to even say, look, I still don't think we should have dropped the bombs, but Donald Trump has played this one to perfection. And maybe it was too risky, but Donald Trump made it work and Donald Trump pulled it off, and he should at least be given that credit. Now, I totally understand all the shade she throws Israel's way, because the more we watch Israel, the worse it gets. Now, they're still our best, they're still our closest ally in the region. But if they're not careful, they will very quickly get eclipsed by the UAE and Qatar and Saudi, because more and more, those three entities have showed up and shown the United States that they are willing to actually fight with us and work with us. To give you a little bit of background into how this whole ceasefire came about and why Israel should be very, very careful that they do not lose their special relationship with Donald Trump and with America. After the airstrikes on Iran, Trump immediately turned to Israel and said, we got to ceasefire this thing. So he basically leaned on Netanyahu to get the ceasefire done. But then he turned to Qatar, to the emir of Qatar, and said, I need you to lean on Iran and you get Iran to the table on this thing. And it was Qatar who was instrumental in getting Iran to the table for this ceasefire. Qatar showed up when they didn't have to and said, yeah, we're in. We will spend some of our political capital to help get this deal done. And if Israel's not careful, if they continue to disrespect Trump, they could very well lose this special relationship. And you might actually see Trump start undermining not necessarily Israel, but Netanyahu, which would be very bad for Netanyahu, because does anybody remember that before October 7th, Netanyahu was facing a massive scandal in his own country. He was facing impeachment. He was facing criminal charges for corruption. He was looking at potential jail time. All that came to an end when October 7th happened, which in many cases, Candace has said this, would beg the question, was it an inside job? All right. There's lots of questions about October 7th as to why the IDF was stood down. It only takes 45 minutes to fly across the entire whole of Israel, why it went on for hours with no response, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to get into that. But so Israel better be very careful that they do not lose their special place. But Trump was pissed today. He was not happy. He woke up throwing violence at the media, at Iran, and Israel, which is absolutely amazing. Hey, Resnap, winning. Absolutely correct. Trump is absolutely winning. And at the same time, he is simultaneously brokering peace throughout the world. He brokered peace in the Congo. He brokered peace between India and Pakistan. He has now brokered peace between Iran and Israel, at least a ceasefire. Trump should absolutely win the Nobel Peace Prize. But at the same time he is doing that, at the same time he is frustrated and pissed because his two little kids, Iran and Israel, can't play nice with each other. Trump is also simultaneously destroying the Democrat Party, who are in an absolute extinction birth death spiral. And we're going to get into that next. But thanks everybody who's rolled up. Not that word, Tracy. Exactly. This is the first time. I mean, this is an absolute first. Trump has never, ever dropped the F-bomb on TV in a press conference. He's never done it. This was not an open mic situation. This was not it was off the cuff and he didn't think that. No. This was to the media, in their face, on camera. And he was very specific. When you hear him say it, he kind of paused. He said, they don't know what the F they're doing. Do you hear me? He wanted to make sure that everybody understood just how angry he was. This is not going to go away lightly. So these two, Israel and Iran, better maintain this ceasefire or there could be serious hell to pay in the future. Because Trump is not interested in regime change. He is not interested in a forever war. He is not interested in nation building, and he will have none of it. I would love to hear apologies to Trump from Dave Smith and Candace Owens. Tucker's already basically quasi-apologized. Tucker's already said, hey, you know what? Trump got this one right. I don't like the risk that he took. Maybe it was too risky for my blood. I was scared, but Trump pulled it off. To his credit, Tucker's already gone there. We need some more people to go there. And at the same time, Trump needs to realize how potentially destructive some other voices that are in his ear are, such as Lindsey Graham, better known as Lindsey Grahamnesty, Mark Levin, and others who have been pushing the neocon agenda, which we need to utterly dispense with. So with that, thanks everybody for rolling up to this first half. The next segment, I want to get into, hello, you may have missed it, but Neera Tanden was interviewed by Congressman Shibishi using the auto pen. Oh, yes. We haven't even gotten to the auto pen story. We're going to have to get into that. That'll not be in this video, though. But I want to get into the fact that while Trump is doing this, he's absolutely destroying the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party has nowhere to go. The more that Trump wins, the more that they lose. And it's not even Trump beating the Democrat Party. Every time Trump wins on the world stage, they lose because once again, they have put themselves squarely with the 20% of America, and they are absolutely showing their ass. The old Dan Bongino, show your ass theory. Well, the Dems are doing it again. Let's dive right in. If everybody could please like, comment, and subscribe, smash that like button for me, as Resnap says. Also, share Courageous Media with everybody that you know. If you like the content, please feel free to join us as a member on Courageous Media. Just hit that membership button or send us a super. We'd really appreciate it. All right, here we go. So we're going to start with Harry Enton. Once again, Harry Enton he's part-time bashing without doing it. He's bashing the Democrat Party, but he's also a meme in and of himself. He's the meme of, I had no idea. This is so surprising. You think after 27 surprises, you wouldn't be surprised anymore. But here's Harry Enton, couple different places on the public approval of Trump and the airstrikes. Here we go.
Yeah, I think there's this idea, okay, maybe the MAGA base wouldn't necessarily like this. Look, this is Donald Trump's Republican Party. That's what I think is so important to note. GOP on the U.S. airstrikes in Iran, 76% in the average of the two polls approve, compared to just 18% who disapprove. Now, I will note that is a bit higher than Donald Trump's disapproval rating within the Republican Party. But overall, Republicans are with Donald Trump on this. Tucker Carlson be darned. The bottom line is he does not speak for the majority of the Republican base. The majority of the Republican base is with Donald Trump.
80% of the GOP absolutely supports the airstrikes on Iran. Now check out, because Harry Enton was also talking about the country writ large in terms of their support. So here we go. Check this out.
Chief data analyst Harry Enton joining me now. You've looked at all the numbers. Trump has said that Iran cannot possibly get a nuclear weapon. And that is what this is all about. How do Americans feel about that particular thing?
Yeah, look, I think it's a complicated picture overall, but on this particular question, and overall, I feel like there's more support for Donald Trump's positions than is comically acknowledged. Oppose Iran getting a nuclear weapon. I mean, look at this. 79% of adults agree on that. They agree with Donald Trump. Iran cannot get a nuclear weapon. 83% of Republicans, 79% of independents, 79% of Democrats. When you get 79% of Democrats and 83% of Republicans agreeing on anything, you know that that position is the very clear majority in this country. And so the American public is with Donald Trump. They definitely oppose Iran getting nuclear weapons.
So this is a nuance here, but, Trump and Netanyahu both arguing that Iran is close to being capable of making a nuclear weapon. If that is the case, what is the feeling of Americans as to whether the United States should get involved in this conflict?
Right. If you buy Donald Trump's theory of the case, and I think that's important to note, this is polling from April. If Iran's trying to make a nuclear weapon, look at this. Overall, you get the slight plurality. I mean, it's within the margin of error, but the slight plurality of Americans actually favor U.S. airstrikes compared to 47% opposing it. Now, here's the other nugget I'll note, right? There's been a lot of talk online and on social media and in podcasts of a divide within the Republican ranks. But here on this question, if Iran's trying to make a nuclear weapon, look at that. 69% of Republicans, the clear vast majority of Republicans.
And that even went up to 76%. So you've got essentially 80% of the country says, no, Iran cannot get a nuclear weapon. So Trump acts and everybody acts like, oh my gosh, this was the biggest, such a bad move by Trump. No, it's not. Trump is firmly planted with the 80% of America that does not want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. And he acted decisively and overwhelmingly and successfully. And that 80% has stayed right with him. In fact, we showed you this tweet before because, again, the Dems are in an absolute extinction burst. While you've got some Dems calling nonsense, you've got Fetterman again, realizing that he wants to be with the 80%. As I've long maintained, this was the correct move by POTUS. Iran is the world leading sponsor of terrorism, cannot have nuclear weapons. I'm grateful and salute the finest military in the world. Now, why do we get extinction burst? Because while that's going on, you've got the ultra progressives in the Democrat Party are absolutely melting down over Trump's actions. And they have firmly planted themselves with the 20%. Which is why their approval rating is no more than 21%, the lowest in history. Check out this by Sandy Ocasio. Some would call her Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez because that's the ridiculous pseudonym that she adopted when she went to Congress. No. Before that, she went by Sandy Ocasio, which is what we're going to call her. So Sandy had this to say. It's absolutely and clearly grounds for impeachment. So basically, she is calling out, she's saying that Trump's use of force violates the War Powers Act, and it is absolutely and clearly grounds for impeachment. Then She even doubles down on that after the successful nature of the airstrikes and the fact that Trump was able to broker a ceasefire. Sandy Ocasio doubles down on the whole impeachment nonsense. Check this out.
Democrats continue to blast President Trump's handling of Israel and Iran, and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez arguing the ceasefire proves the president broke the law.
On the ceasefire, the president posted on Truth Social that there is a ceasefire deal between Israel and Iran. Do you believe that?
He also said that it was a war. And I think that the President of the United States admitting that he unilaterally brought the United States into a war without congressional approval is a very grave public admission. It is illegal. It is unconstitutional.
The Congresswoman also writing on Twitter, it is absolutely and clearly grounds for impeachment. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is here. Not everyone's buying it. Listen to Charlemagne.
There have been a bunch of presidents who have ordered strikes without congressional approval. Barack Obama did it against Libya. Joe Biden ordered strikes in Iraq and Syria without congressional approval. Bill Clinton did it. So presidents ordering military action without congressional approval has become pretty routine. So why didn't it lead to impeachment for everybody else? Like when Barack Obama did it, when Biden did it,
but
when
it
Clinton
has.
did it.
And
100%. You've even got Charlemagne weighing in going, no. Barack Obama dropped a good 20,000 bombs in his 8 years. Never once did any of these morons call for impeachment of Barack Obama because he violated the War Powers Act.
obviously you had all the experience there during this time. Kevin, the issue about Iran getting a nuclear weapon has been, maybe up until 3 days ago, the most bipartisan issue on Capitol Hill. And now all of a sudden the Democrats feel like did they want Iran to continue to have this capability?
I think it shows again that they just get a Trump syndrome. Here, what just took place in a moment of history, our children will study. What President Trump is able to accomplish has reset the world stage, had made the world actually safer. The decisiveness, the planning. And this goes back even into his first administration when he took out Soleimani. And the other thing that you have found, when he did his first trip to the Middle East, secured and rebuilt those relationships that we needed. But what he was able to accomplish this weekend will change the course of history. We will study this like the Cuban Missile Crisis and then tearing down the wall.
Absolutely. Now, again, I say that the Dems are in an extinction burst because while Trump is soaring high, while Trump is remaking the world and America's watching it happen in real time, Trump is remaking all geopolitics. Simultaneously, he's doing it economically with his entire tariff plan. He's put China in a box. He has caused the world to come to America and say we want deals, at the same time charging a 10% tariff on everybody, no matter what. At the same time that's going on, Trump is remaking the Middle East in his image. His first trip to the Middle East, he visits the UAE, Qatar, and Saudi. He snubs Israel. It's like, no, I'm not going to visit, baby. No, I'm going because I'm building new relationships. Then he turns around and supports Netanyahu and Israel as they attack Iran. Trump joins in, but then immediately brings an end to it, calls it the 12-day war, and brokers a ceasefire. And Trump is absolutely remaking the world. Meanwhile, the Dems cannot get out of their own way. Check this out, because at the same time that Ocasio-Cortez is calling for impeachment and then doubling down on impeachment, you've got Hakeem Jeffries saying this.
In order to reward billionaires. At the same time, Donald Trump and his actions, which do not appear to be consistent with the United States Constitution, takes unilateral offensive military action without seeking the approval of the United States Congress. The use of military force, which is offensive in nature, must be approved by the House and the Senate. That's according.
Absolutely, that's not the case. Read the War Powers Act. A declaration of war must be approved by the House and the Senate. the use of force, the use of military force in general, that term, it says that Congress must be notified and that the president can only do it for 60 days. These guys are idiots. They can't even read their own laws. That's what the War Powers Act. That's why it has never been, there's been no impeachment calls for the last 25 years of presidents after 9/11, when the War Powers Act was engendered. So no one has ever called for impeachment over the use of military force on the world stage, not until it was Trump, not until it's TDS, not until the Dems are in such a hard place. They are leaderless, rudderless, penniless. They're broke. They have absolutely no approval. They are in a 100% extinction burst death spiral. So much so, because we got Jasmine Crockett talking the same nonsense. Check this out. All right, pull this up.
And to understand enough about the Constitution to the extent that I'm the one that's supposed to make a fucking decision or at least get a vote.
Now, your F-bomb isn't nearly as impactful because you're just an idiot. You're a clown. And no, you don't get to make the decision. Article 2 specifically says that the president is the commander-in-chief of the military, and he can employ the military. It's his decision. In a declaration of war, Congress must declare war. To go to a formal declaration of war, absolutely. But that does not hinder, and the Supreme Court has already weighed in on this, on the War Powers Act for the last 25 years, that the president is not hindered in his use of military force on the world stage. He can't do it for more than 60 days. That's where Congress absolutely has to give their approval. But up until then, the president is free to employ the military. Congress cannot obstruct that or impede it. That's already been adjudicated. What a clown.
But it's Ron that's telling me. Right. So literally, like,
And oh, by the way, Congress was notified. Trump called Speaker Johnson. Trump called Majority Leader Thune. Trump called Schumer. Trump called Hakeem Jeffries, who didn't pick up the call. Trump informed Congress he abided by his constitutional duty under the War Powers Act. This is so bad that Al Green, who was like the Geico caveman lookalike, Al Green from Texas. I mean, she's from Houston. Al Green's from Houston. These people are ridiculous. He actually filed articles of impeachment, and the House voted on him today, and it did not go well. Check this out. This is how bad it is. U.S. House votes against moving forward with impeaching Trump 344 to 79. Now, you ought to have the 79. You ought to figure out who those 79 Dems are that voted for it and absolutely lambaste them. But what it means is 128 Dems said, nope, not even going to vote for this. This is so egregious and so stupid, we're out. We're not even going to put our name on this. Finally, after all this, after all the doubling down, they asked the one lone voice of quasi-reason in the Democrat Party, Uncle Fester, John Fetterman, they asked him about the whole impeachment situation. And here's Fetterman on Fox News. Once again, the Dems are in an extinction birth death spiral so bad that John Fetterman has become the intellectual giant amongst a bunch of vapid morons. Here we go.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says the president shouldn't be impeached because he's impulsive. What do you think of that?
No, I mean, of course, no. She knows it. I know it. We all know it. That's not going anywhere. And, you know, he's been impeached twice, and now he's still our president as well now, too. So it's not going anywhere, and I don't think that's helpful. And I think if you throw that term around, that actually diminishes what the severity of what impeachment is really reserved for.
They've already diminished it. They've already turned it into nothing more than political theater. All of their impeachments over the last several years have done nothing more than make it utterly meaningless. Just like their use of the word racist or Nazi. It has become utterly, it's nothing more than a trope anymore. And the fact that 128 Dems said, I'm not even putting my name to this impeachment nonsense. The fact that Fetterman is like, that's not going anywhere. We don't even need to be talking about it. This is bad for the Democrat Party. The Democrats have planted their flag with the 20% fringe kooks in America, and the leaders of their party, Sandy Ocasio, Jasmine Crockett, Hakeem Jeffries, are absolutely lampooning themselves and the Democrat Party, while the Democrat establishment leadership of Hogg and Michaels, the guy who's running the DNC, are basically saying we're broke and we're going to primary each other. They are in complete and utter implosion freefall. The more Trump wins, no matter what he does, even if it's not against them, even if it's not a political issue here in the States where Trump beats the Dems, all Trump has to do is beat somebody else, beat Iran, beat the Houthis. If Trump maintains this ceasefire between Iran and Israel and gets an actual permanent deal done where Iran never gets a nuclear weapon, Pakistan has said he should get the Nobel Peace Prize. If he could turn around and get Vladimir Putin to the table in Ukraine, Trump should win multiple Nobel Peace Prizes, and his approval will go through the roof. Meanwhile, we are days away from hopefully getting the big, beautiful bill. And as much as I disagree with a bunch of stuff in that bill, the tax cuts, making them permanent, are utterly important to driving the economic engine of America. And then if we can just get Too Late Powell to dump his TDS, we got to get rid of him as soon as, I think he's up in 6 months. Get Too Late Powell to actually start lowering rates. This economy will take off like a juggernaut. And we will be leading the world. We're already leading the world economically, but we will outstrip them. We will run away from them like an Indy car runs away from a Prius on the track. It'll be absolutely amazing. Thanks everybody for rolling up. Really appreciate you being here. Trump is once again leading the world. He is winning. He is driving public agenda. He is absolutely remaking the world while the Dems circle the drain in an extinction birth death spiral. I love to see it. We are winning. As Trump said, you're going to get tired of winning. There'll be too much winning. There is never too much winning. Hey, really appreciate everybody rolling up. Thanks so much for being here. Please comment. Let us know how we're doing. Like, comment, and subscribe. Share Courageous Media with everybody that you know. Please join us as a member if you want to support the channel, or send us a super. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much for rolling up. Have a great Tuesday evening. Till I catch you next time, remember that God is good and He is sovereign.